Welcome to Betting Weekly WTA, the women's tennis betting podcast, brought to you in association with Bet Rivers. I'm Rory Jawani. With me, as usual, is Nigel Seeley. 2 tournaments this week as we close in on the end of the season. We have a 500 in Ningbo, China, and a 250 in Osaka, Japan. Before we get started, make sure to like and subscribe to us on YouTube and your favourite podcast provider. And follow us on social media. The handle is @BecauseWeWin. And if you like what you hear on our shows, sign up for the newsletter. Get exclusive tips and the free Insider magazine. Sign up for free at www.bettingweeklystudios.com. We were just out of luck in Wuhan with our pick, Jasmine Paolini. She was $33 each way pick, but she fell in the semi-finals to Coco Gauff. World's top 4 taking this week off, Nigel. What did you make of the week?
Well, I think the headline's all on the men's tour with the 1,000 to 1 shot. Vashro making history in that one, and the women's tournament. I think Paolini just ran out of legs. She should have. I mean, the amount of opportunity she had against Gauff on the Gauff serve was incredible. I think there was 10 successive breaks of serve in that match.
Yeah.
Which is unheard of. And, I just think she just run out of gas a little bit. I mean, it's been a long year, but 33 to 1. She traded down to 6 to 1 to win the tournament. But obviously, we just couldn't get her home. We had a 16 to 1 shot on her in the semi-final, and she was plus 120 in the semi-final. So we had a 16 to 1 about a plus 120 shot, and we didn't get a. It didn't happen for us, which has been pretty much the story of the season. But I think consistency's been pretty good. A couple of semi-finalists at big prices in recent weeks, a winner at a nice price as well, Anisimova. So despite the overall record, we are just hitting the post again on the tournament. With regards to this week, I think it's the race is basically for the final spots in the Tour End Championship, isn't it? I mean, that's what it's come down to. You've got this week in Ningbo, you've got Mira Andreeva, who's 7th. Obviously, the top 8 players in the world qualify for the Tour Championship. Andreeva's 7th. Raducanu is 8th in the race. Jasmine Paolini is 9th. Alexandrova 10th. And Clara Towson 11th. And they've all got an outside chance, probably not Clara Towson, but certainly Alexandrova, Paolini, Raducanu and Andreeva. Andreeva should get in, but the other 3 are playing for one spot. So there's a lot of incentive for those 4 players, but they're not playing particularly well. They're going to dominate at the top of the market, but they're short prices, and there's got to be alternatives, but it's difficult to find motivation for a lot of players at this time of year, as we said in the last couple of weeks.
Exactly. I've got a feeling Paolini might have overtaken Raducanu this week because she reached the semis. It's certainly close. But there's also the added thing with Madison Keys is still out. So she might miss the final. So it might be any 2 from those 3 you mentioned, Raducanu, Paolini and Alexandrova. Andreeva should get in. I mean, I think it would be quite a sort of freak set of occurrences for her to miss out. So there is that incentive, especially for Alexandrova, who's outsider of the 3 at the moment. If she has a good run, she could really put herself in the reckoning. Should of course just say Coco Gauff beat Jessica Pegula in the final not that long ago. So Gauff back to winning ways. It's been a difficult season for her, obviously, since that Roland Garros triumph. And Pegula beat Arina Sabalenka in the semi-finals, which I certainly didn't see that one coming. But we're on to Ningbo, and Mira Andreeva is the top seed. It's a 28-player draw. The top 4 seeds receive first round buys. One thing to mention, Ningbo's in the middle of something of a heat wave. The humidity isn't as high as Wuhan, and that they were brutal conditions, as we know, in Wuhan, but it's really still very hot in Ningbo. It will probably hit 100 Fahrenheit tomorrow, which is 38 Celsius. It will then drop to the mid-80s Fahrenheit, so that's around sort of 30 Celsius. A lot of rain forecast on Tuesday and again on Saturday. Now, Ningbo, this tournament played really slow last year when Daria Kasatkina took the title. The service hold percentage was only 61.9, which is the same figure as Roland Garros in 2024. Form-wise, we've only really got 2 tournaments to look at Last year, Kasatkina beat Mira Andreeva in the final, and both progressed to the finals due to injury retirements in the semis. Kasatkina against Paula Badosa and Andreeva over Karolina Muchova. In 2023, when it was a 250 event, On Jabeur defeated Katerina Siniakova. Beg your pardon, Diana Schneider to claim the trophy. Jabeur was the only seed to make the semis that year. Nadia Podoroska, who's a clay court specialist, she reached the semi-finals that year, so it was a bit of a strange one. But I think overall, what I'm perhaps getting at here is that this is a tournament where, the bigger hitters, the big servers might be at a disadvantage.
Yeah, and there's a lot of big servers in it. Obviously, the market's topped by Raducanu, who obviously has Palini did overtake, and she's currently just in 8th place in that race ninth place in that race for the Saudi tournament. It's not the race for Riyadh, the Tour Championship. I mean, obviously, we've only got 2 recent years in 2024, 2023, but the tournament did go on in 14, 13, 12, 11, 10, and there are some interesting trends. You can include those as well. Probably not really massively to the last couple of years. 7 editions of this tournament, an unseeded player has been beaten finalists, and there has been, some unseeded players do get through to the latter stage in this tournament, get through to the final. If we look at the 7 tournaments they've had in the history of this tournament, 3 number 1 seeds have won it, and there's been 2 unseeded winners. So number 1 seeds do particularly well, but also you do get the odd shock. Andreeva was unseeded last year when she got to the final, got beat by Kasatkina, and Schneider was the unseeded player when she got to the final against the number 1 seed that year on Jabeur. It is slow, as you say, and that is a bit of a problem for team players who need it. And there's obviously a lot of players coming into this tournament who are tired. There's a lot of players coming to this tournament who looks absolutely out on their feet last week in Wuhan, and in brutal conditions as well. And I think that you may want to be someone coming in here who hasn't been tested in the last couple of weeks. I think if you've gone deep in the last couple of weeks, I'm not quite sure it's going to help you here. I think you need to be somebody who is a little bit fresh, and there isn't many people in this draw who you can say that about.
Certainly aren't. No, it's this is a tricky one. If the quarterfinals go according to the seedings, Andreeva will meet Diana Schneider. That's in Q1. In Q2, Ekaterina Alexandrova will face Ludmila Samsonova. Elena Rybakina against Clara Tauson in Q3. And in the bottom quarter, Paolini against Belinda Bencic. Let's look at those odds and the players that we've discussed, obviously seeking those points for the race to Riyadh, dominating the top of the market. Rybakina plus 250, Paolini plus 370, Andreeva, beaten finalist last year, she's plus 450. Ekaterina Alexandrova, $6, Clara Tauson, $7. Excuse me. Belinda Bencic, 12s. Karolina Muchova, Ludmila Samsonova, and Marketa Vondrousova, all $20. Diana Schneider and Emma Raducanu, $22. Mccartney Kessler, $28. $40 the rest. Let's look at the top of the market. I mean, to me, I would probably have Paolini as favourite over Rybakina given the conditions. But against Paolini, she has had a long, hard season, and she went deep last week as well.
Paolini looked absolutely exhausted to me last week. I think she's a big fade this week.
Yeah.
I think the price is too short for her. I think 370. She needs a rest, or she's going to be burnt out before she gets to the Tour Championship. I look at her, and I think Rebecca looks. You remember she got to the quarterfinal in Beijing against Anisimova, which was a brutal match. It was a real long battle. She lost 6-4 in that quarterfinal. And then last week, 2 tough opening matches against Yuan and Clara Tauson. That big win over Swiatek, and then against Goff, that was even though it wasn't a long match by terms of numbers, in terms of games, it was a long, brutal match in terms of breaks. So I think Paolini needs a little bit of a rest. She's been at it a lot, She Cincinnati tournament into the final, US Open 3rd round, and then 2 tournaments here deep. I think if she's going to give herself any chance, I think she get to maybe the quarterfinals, get some points in the bag, try to sort of maintain that position. I think once she realises if she can outdo Raducanu, I think that she might think, well, let's ease it up a little bit this week. I'm not saying that she's going to, intentionally lose a match. Sometimes my words get taken out of context sometimes, but I do think there's a psychological factor when you've got enough points in the bag. You might think, oh, okay, I'm okay now. And, and I think her body needs a rest. So I think she's a fade. Raducanu conditions are going to be too slow for her for me to even contemplate betting her at plus 250. I think she's got a fairly, this is a difficult draw actually. I mean, she's got a buy in round one. Viktorija Mboko, who is not playing great at the moment, but is a very talented player in round number 2. Clara Towson, Bencic, and then whoever comes through the top half of the draw in the final. That's or Paolini. I mean, she could be playing Paolini in the semi-finals, Bencic or Paolini. So I think that's a very, very difficult route to take someone at plus 250. I wouldn't, that's very hard. So that makes no in conditions that aren't her best surface. So that's very difficult for me to see. If we look at the top half, I've got a star next to people here who I think are dangerous, and there's a lot of stars. Andreeva, Raducanu could be Andreeva's first round to get by Andreeva, then she played Raducanu. Vondrousova and Muchova is the opener, so one of them is going to go out. Schneider is not playing well, but she's capable of doing well. She's got to the final here, points to defend. Alexandrova, Kenin is a major champion. Mccartney, Kessler will be Kenin in round 1. Samsonova, and that might be it might be a little bit too slow for her, but that's a very, very, very tough section there. So trying to find value is difficult here. I mean, Clara Towson, the conditions will probably suit her, but 7-1. I couldn't bet Clara Towson at 7-1 to win this tournament. She's got she's got a qualifying round 1, a qualifying round 2, and then she's into the quarterfinals. So you can see why she's short, but 7-1 looks a very, very difficult price. And I find it very, very hard to find much value in that outright market. You're on mute, Rory.
Right, sorry. Towson actually plays Ayla Tomljanovic in round 1, and she's come through qualifying in quite good style. So that could be a tough test for Towson, who's not in great form at the moment. I agree with you. I mean, Raducanu's too short. I think Paolini is too short because of obviously concerns over her fitness. I mean, she dances every dance, doesn't she? She plays the doubles as well. And the top half looks really tricky. Those players you mentioned, especially Vondrousova and Muchova in round 1. I mean, both have had so many injury problems. Vondrousova hasn't played since beating Raducanu at the US Open. And she looked amazing in that match. And then she injured herself practicing for her next match, which was, I think she was due to play Sabalenka. There's only one it's tricky to find a bet. This is a real long shot. And it's a player who should be really suited by these conditions. That's Yulia Putintseva. She came through qualifiers. And actually looks like she's found a bit of form. She's had a really, really poor season. But you just never know. This might, these conditions might, spark something.
Where has she gone into the draw? Where is she?
She's in the bottom quarter. So she is due to play Yulia Starodubtseva of Ukraine in round 1.
And then the winner of that will play
Bencic or Linette. Yeah. So, I mean, Bencic, I did think about Bencic, but
short 12-1-ish.
I thought, I think she'd want it a little bit quicker than this as well.
She played well against Swiatek last week, but I mean, 12-1. I mean, I couldn't bet Bencic at 12-1. So I mean, I have a little bit. I mean, you can put it in the saver, but I have one bet I'm going to have, but it's very, very small in this tournament. But it's very small. But if we're going to go with putting the saver as one of the outright picks as well,
yeah, I'm going to go for it. Yeah.
So I mean, I'm going to go for Mboko at 40-1. I know she's not playing well, and I know she lost. She got beaten by Alexandrova last time, beat by Potapova. She hasn't won a match actually since she played in Montreal.
Yeah.
But I wish she won the tournament. But I just think 40-1 is a big price. This is a girl that was half that price to win the US Open. Obviously got beat by Krejcikova. Wasn't very. She was very unlucky in the draw she had. She started off there as a 2-5 favourite in that match. She can play in slower conditions. French Open got to the third round, got beat by Zheng, come through qualification. She got to the final of a clay court event in Parma. She did okay in the round, got to the round 2 in Rome. She got beat by Coco Gauff. She's a multi-surface player. I think I know that she's not playing well those 2 matches, but I just feel that she's probably fresh. She's not been going deep in tournaments like a lot of the other players are. She can come with a bit of freedom, and no one's expecting anything from her. And I just thought 40s was a little bit of a price. She opens up against Yastremska in round number 1, which, it's a tricky match, but she should be able to negotiate that. Then in round number 2, she plays Raducanu. Now, Raducanu will be a decent favourite for that match. I've absolutely no doubt about it. But in testing in slow conditions, which aren't going to suit Raducanu she only got to one final this year. Despite her being a plus 250 favourite, I mean, she hasn't been playing particularly well. No. She got battered by Sabalenka last time out, and she got people lies, didn't she, in the tournament before that? So I just thought that the Raducanu price is too short, and if you think it's a 28% of the market's been taken up on Raducanu, and the reason why I think that is because I think people just think she has to win, the need to win, but I don't think it's as easy as that. And Mboko will give her a test. I know it's going to be difficult, but at 40s, I'm just going to have a half a point each way on her at 40 to 1 just to give me some kind of interest. I just think all those top contenders there down to Bencic are all far, far too short. All 5 of those in single figure prices. You would expect one of them will win, but not at those odds, not at all. So yeah, they must be knackered. Raducanu's tired. Paolini's a long year. Andreeva's long. Andreeva's played a lot of tennis. Towson has shown signs that she's tired. Whereas Mboko put it all in Montreal, won her home tournament, hasn't won a match since. I think she's back to reality. Been a great season for her. I think that the freshness of her will be a big factor in these conditions. So I'm going to have a half a point each way on Mboko at 40s.
Yeah, I mean, my only worry was that there's been a lot of talk. There was talk of her having wrist problems after Montreal, and that would put me off. But as you say, she was half this price to win the US Open.
It's just the price. It's just the 41 price. I mean, that's the thing that's going on for me. And I'm only going to play small. It's just a half a unit, just to give but I mean, realistically, I think it's a very, very tough tournament. A difficult time of year to have. And we've seen some shocks going in this tournament before. We've seen people unseeded get to the final, and I just think if you're going to get a shock, you're going to get in a tournament like this at the end of the season, as we just saw in the men's tournament in Shanghai this week.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone for Putintseva, which she's $150. I'm just going to have a quarter of a point each way. I think I say it's a bit of a long shot. It's reflected in the odds. She hasn't been playing well this season, but she's shown signs of perhaps just getting back to her best, and a win or two, and you never know with her, as I say, especially in conditions that will suit. Shall we look at some matches for Ningbo now? Yeah. Start off Sofia Kenin against Mccartney Kessler, All-American clash. Kenin plus 114, Kessler minus 141. The spread's 1.5, totals 21.5 games. First meeting, neither player in great form. These are two players I can't seem to get right. So this is definitely over to you, Nigel.
Well, I think this is a genuine 50-50 match. I think this is a toss of a coin job, and at the odds, I think the plus money at plus 114 is a slight smidgen of value for Sophie Kenin here. So she will be my first official play. Mccartney Kessler isn't playing that great. She lost in the first round last week against Christiane, which was a bit of a shock because Jacqueline Christiane is a clay dog, absolute clay dog. I know it was pretty slow last week, but you would expect Kessler to win that. She didn't. She come through a long match. It was a long match, so it was quite a tough match. The first set was extremely tough. It was Kessler won the first set 7-6. The second set was 6-love to Christiane, and Kessler didn't look fit, and that was another reason I liked it here. Whereas Kenin actually, I thought she played well in defeat in her last match against Samsonova in Wuhan last week. Samsonova obviously just edged it in 3 sets again, but again she lost the first set, and then she won the first set, Kenin, and Samsonova came back and won 6-3, 6-1 in the third. But I thought Kenin looked really good, particularly in the first set, and she was a bit of a takeout for me. I thought she's in slower conditions. I think that gives her a little bit of an advantage. You got to remember she's higher seeded. She's 5 spots higher than her fellow countrywoman in the world rankings, and yet she's a plus 114 underdog in slow conditions when, both of them aren't playing well. But I think this is a genuine 50 call. If you look at the people that Kenin has got beaten by in her recent tournaments, which is since the US Open, Maya joint, you would expect her to lose that. Paolini, expect to lose that. Samsonova. The people that Kessler have got beaten by, Sidel in Cincinnati, Lies in Beijing, Christian, who's, like I can say, not the greatest on anything other than the clay court, you would expect of her to have won that. So I think the form guide is slightly edging towards Kenin here, and I think at plus 114, she's worth a little bit of an interest. So that's my first official pick, Kenin to beat Mccartney Kessler at plus 114.
Yeah, I mean, Kenin against Samsonova, I think she just ran out of gas in the third set. I mean, the conditions were really hot. It was really brutal, and she was not chasing everything down in the last set. But yeah, before that, she hadn't looked too bad. And hopefully the conditions aren't, when they're playing, hopefully they're not going to be as brutal as they were last week, but it could be very hot tomorrow. So hopefully they'll play before it gets really hot. But yeah, if in a 50-50 call, Kenin at plus 114 could be value there. Moving on, Viktorija Mboko, we just talked a lot about her, minus 148 against Dayana Yastremska, plus 118. The spread 1.5, totals 21.5. Talk about Mboko, possible wrist trouble of late. Hasn't won a set since winning the Montreal title. Yastremska retired last week. She was trailing in the final set, so it's not the first time she's done that against Laura Siegemund. She had 3 defeats before that, although the first of those was a walkover in Cincinnati when she was due to play Coco Gauff again, who she beat at the US Open, if memory serves. No, not US Open. Was it Wimbledon? Was it Wimbledon?
It was Wimbledon, wasn't it?
It was a Wimbledon she beat her.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, what you've said, Mboko's your pick for the tournament. Do you want to get involved here as well?
I'm not going to get involved here, no. I mean, I'm happy to take a little bit of 40-1, but I think this is a good match for Mboko, and I think it gives us some confidence. I mean, hoping that the wrist injury isn't a problem, I think she wins this match. Yastremska, we're talking about 2 players here who aren't in great form, but Mboko obviously hasn't won since that win in Montreal at the beginning of August.
Yep.
And nor has Yastremska won a match since the 10th of August. So they both have had a long time since the win. 4 matches now for Yastremska, and the fact that she retired in her last match against Siegemund with what looked an injury is a worry. The Buzas Monero beat her fairly comfortably, and Buzas Monero hasn't been in great form going into this sort of Asian swing. So that was a shock, a bad defeat for her in Beijing. I just put this one in purely and simply because I've got her on the outright market, and I just think that she will win this in Mboko, providing she's fit. And I think once she wins this, and if she can win this fairly comfortably, I think it's a great matchup for her. I think it gives her huge confidence going into the match with Raducanu, and she'll have a bit of winning mentality again, and I think she'll be dangerous. So I'm happy with my bet of 40-1, half a unit each way. Not going to play on this match, but there's the spread, there's the total. There's about 50 different markets available on the Bet Rivers website. Got to remember as well, these matches start at the early hours of the morning. I think the first match is 2 a.m. Eastern time. First match actually is 2 a.m. Eastern time, Monday morning. It is Kenin v Kessler. So if you want to bet on that Kenin match, you want to get on that early. So yeah, I put that in really just to back up my case for on the outright market, because I think Mboko will win this and suddenly give her a little bit of confidence heading into the match against Raducanu.
Okay, moving on. Emma Raducanu, minus 560 against Lin Zhu, plus 390. Spreads 5.5 games, totals 19.5. First meeting, Raducanu retired from her opener in Wuhan against An Li due to illness. Lin Zhu lost in 2 close sets to Maya Joint there. She's outside the top 200 at the moment, but I think in these slow conditions, she might be competitive. And I was tempted by the spread. Zhu plus 5.5 games at minus 108. Any view, Nigel?
The only reason, again, I've mentioned this, and I'm not going to put it in official play, but Raducanu was really, it was quite distressing to watch how much the court conditions took out of her. She was complaining about feeling dizzy in Wuhan. She was all over the place against Lee. She looked very pale. She looked like she was going to be sick. It was really bad, and she was getting beat really badly, 6-1, 4-1 when she had to retire. She's playing again tomorrow in arguably hotter conditions. This is going to be brutal again. And the quick turnaround from that last week to this week is a massive negative for anyone taking minus 560. It's all about Raducanu's recovery. Now you got to think about Lin Zhu is a local girl who's going to be used to these kind of humidity. It's going to be okay for her. This is what she does. This is how she plays tennis. I just got a feeling that this minus 560 comes with so many danger spots on it. I mean, it's a match for me that I think this is difficult. The only one good thing I would say, she's not actually playing tomorrow, so it'll be in her favour. It's the following day, so it gives her an extra time recovery. But nevertheless, I still think it's going to be very humid. The humidity is the big problem here, and Raducanu was really in a bad way in Wuhan. And if she's recovered in time, yeah, great. But at minus 560 against a local girl, I wouldn't be betting it. So just be very careful if you're looking at a parlay and you think Emma Raducanu here, good form against someone ranked outside the top 200. It's a certainty to go into the parlay. I don't think this is a certainty by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, I think I like the Zhu on the spread enough to have an official play there. I think Zhu plus 5.5 games minus 108. I mean, she gave my joint plenty to think about in Wuhan in quicker conditions. And I do like Zhu in these slower conditions. Raducanu's not that great in slower conditions. As you say, it's still going to be hot on Tuesday. And, in slower conditions, hot weather, it's a combination that for Raducanu probably isn't ideal, especially given what happened last week. So Zhu plus 5.5 games at minus 108 is my first official play. Talking of players with fitness and injury concerns, Marketa Vondrousova against Karolina Muchova. Vondrousova, of course, the former Wimbledon champion, minus 105, Muchova minus 118. The spread is just half a game, totals 21.5. Vondrousova leads the head-to-head 2-1. Muchova won the last meeting at Indian Wells in 2023. They hadn't met for 5 years before that. Vondrousova, as we said earlier, she hasn't played since beating Rybakina at the US Open. Muchova, she retired in Wuhan last week against Magdalena Freck. Where are you going with this one, Nigel?
And she retired, and she's played a lot of tennis before that. Muchova, she played 2 long matches as well. I did say last week about Muchova, there is a possible that the fitness and the levels would be a problem for her. The early money has come for Muchova. There has been some money for her, so that suggests that the Vondrousova may not be at her 100% pre. I think this is. I think it's the best match of the first round, but it's probably the most dangerous to have an opinion on. I mean, it's a glamour match, and sometimes we get lured into having a bet on a glamour tie, watching on the TV, thinking we're going to have a bet on this one. I wouldn't be surprised to see this match be void and not completed. It's that kind of look about it. If I knew they were both absolutely fit and ready to go, I would be definitely looking to go over 21.5, and that would be my angle in. But with one of them not playing since the US Open last 16 match, and the other one a year or a few years now of injury problems and retiring from in her last match, it's something that I think it's a watch and breathe. I would watch this in play with Bet Rivers. If you do have a bet on the match, you'll be able to watch it, live stream it. But my advice would be have a bet on something else rather than this one. It's the big match of the day, but from a betting perspective, it just looks absolutely horrid. So I'd leave it. But if they start off well and they look fit and they're going at it and they both have no problems at all, over 21.5 would be my lean.
Okay, moving on, one final match to look at in Ningbo. All Chinese affair. Yuan plus 105 against Xinyu Wang minus 130. Spread 1.5 games. Totals 21.5. One apiece in the head-to-head. Yuan gave Jasmine Paolini a real scare in Wuhan before going down 6-3 in the third. And I watched quite a lot of that match, and I thought Yuan looked really good for most of it. Xinyu Wang, on the other hand, has lost her last 4 matches, including a surprise defeat to Moyuka Uchijima in Wuhan. I thought Yuan might be a little bit of value here, but probably just a lean for me. Nigel, what were you thinking?
Yeah, this is my second official play. I'm going to go for Yuan at plus 105. Like you, I watched the Paolini match because we bet Paolini to win it, and Yuan played really, really well. Obviously, she's a player that's had problems with injuries in the past. She's a player that is a lot better than her current ranking of 109. And Wang is on a real slump. She's had an awful time of it in her home sort of stage of the season. Beat in the first round by Zhang in Beijing. Ukajima beat her, which is, that was a very, very disappointing defeat last time out, and the manner of that defeat was bad for her as well. So I think this is something that I would be definitely looking to get with a dog here. I expect that price of plus 104 with BetRivers, or 105 with BetRivers. Yeah. I got a sneaky feeling that Yuan may start favourite for this match. I know it's a lot to move from plus 105 to minus 130, but I think both of these will be minus money, and I expect a considerable amount of money to come for Yuan. She's a good player. She's a talented player. This time of year, she comes into her own. She's done well already. I mean, she beat your girl, putting her saver, didn't she, in Beijing, and then running to Iga Swiatek in round 2, which, she got beat by that, but that's no surprise that she got beat by her. Usual 6-love set for Swiatek in that match as well. Yeah. But the match against Paolini, she played well and she had chances, and she was up against Paolini, who had a 3-0 head-to-head record against her going into that match. So she knew that she played well, and she was a takeout for me. So again, at plus 105, this is what I like to do in women's tennis, or my tennis betting strategy always is to look at matches where they're around about 50-50 and take the one at plus 105. It's about trying to get a little bit of value. I think this match is slight favourite Yuan. I think the other matches are 50-50 call. And I'm taking the plus money shots. So there's a slight edge in my favour. And I think the closing line will reflect that. I think both of those picks will get bet, and I think we'll get value. The hard part is getting the players to do the job for us.
Exactly. So that is Ningbo. Let's move on quickly to Osaka. 250 tournament with Suzan Lamens defending the title. Naomi, Osaka, appropriate enough, is the top seed here. This is a 32-player draw.
Has there ever been a sports person whose their second name or surname has been a tournament where they've won? Osaka and Osaka. Has there been anybody
That's a good one.
I'm trying to think. Is there somebody who a surname I don't know? I'm just trying to think.
Was there ever a tournament in Austin? Tracy Austin
winning in Austin. If anybody's got a tournament where a player with a surname is involved, put it into the comments at the bottom. It'd be great to find.
Yeah, that would be quite good. 32-player draw. This played pretty quick last year. Service hold percentage of 67.2, and the temperatures are a bit more sociable. Mid-high 20s Celsius all week, so that's around 80 Fahrenheit. We do have plenty of rain forecast for Wednesday and Thursday, and what looks like might be a monsoon on Saturday. Since COVID, we've had just the 2 tournaments at Osaka. Lamens defeated fellow qualifier Kimberly Burrell 12 months ago in the final. And in 2023, Ashlyn Krueger, who was unseeded, beat top seed Lin Zhu. Nigel, anything we should be looking out for in Osaka?
I mean, like you say, we've only got those 2 tournaments, and both of them being won by unseeded players, as you would expect. I think, it's all eyes on Naomi Osaka. If I'm looking at the draw, I think that I slightly think the bottom half is a bit tougher. I know not the quality. I think the top. I think it's a fairly comfortable draw for Naomi Osaka. Actually, to be honest with you, I think she's got. She's got to play Lamens in the second round if they both win their matches. Obviously, Lamens is defending champion, lots of points to defend here, so it's a big week for her. But if she can overcome there, I think it's a fairly comfortable draw for her. But again, she's plus 225. I wouldn't be betting her, even though it's in her Osaka. I think 225 is a short price. If you're looking at the draw, I actually looked at this draw here, Rory, and obviously I come across one player in the draw, and it was in the bottom half of the draw, and the player that I wanted to bet was Maria Bauskova. She's won for a tournament for us here. She won the Czech tournament. She beat Noskova. Noskova's had a lot of tennis. Obviously got to the final a couple of weeks back. Looked tired to me. I think Noskova's someone here. I think she'll be a fade. Opens up against Katie Bowl to a difficult match. But I went through that bottom half of the draw, and there didn't seem to be anything really in it. So I looked at Bauskova. She starts off against a wild card. She should win that. She'll play Andreescu or Golubic. I think she'll win that. She plays Noskova potentially in the quarterfinals. Bauskova leads 3-1 against Noskova in the quarterfinals. She plays potentially Leylah Fernandez, could be her opponent in the semi-final. And she's had one win against Leylah Fernandez before, and it was a very easy win, 6-love, 6-1. It was a bit of a while ago, but I thought Bauskova was going to be the price. And I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to bet Bauskova. I'm going to get about 16-1. I'm going to, and I look at the odds, she's plus 650. I can't bet Baskova at plus 650. I just literally can't bring myself to bet Baskova at plus 650. Every part of me saying, Nigel, you cannot bet this price. I think she's the one to come out of it, but I think you're better off to bet her in individual matches. I mean, against Noskova, she'll probably be about a plus 110 chance. Against Fernandez, if they met, she'd probably be about a minus 120 shot. I'd rather do the double and then basically bet her in the final to get a much bigger price, the 3 outcomes, than taking her at plus 650. So unfortunately for me, Rory, I am not having a bet on here, but I was coming on very bullish and very confident about this fantastic bet I found in the bottom half of the draw that was going to be double figure price. Maria Bauska was going to be the pick. When I saw plus 650, my heart was absolutely deflated and I thought, I can't be betting it. So I think if you do like Bauska like I do, bet her in individual matches once you get her to the round 2, round 3, semi-final and final, you get a much, much better price than plus 650.
Yeah, let's just run through those odds quickly. Osaka, the favourite, plus 225. Noskova, $5. Bauskova, plus 650, as you said, Nigel. Leylah Fernandez, $7. Elise Mertens and Olga Danilovic, $14. Maria Sakkari, $18. Ashlyn Krueger, 20s. Hailey Baptiste and Bianca Andreescu, $22. And then it's $25 bar. I came through to a different conclusion in the bottom half. I quite like Noskova this week. I saw her in Wuhan when she beat Jessica Pegula, and that's the best I've ever seen her strike the ball. Obviously, she went down to Amanda Anisimova in the final. We both said last week we didn't expect much from her after those exertions, but she beat Naomi Osaka in straight sets last week. She's more than double the price of Osaka for this tournament, and I think these quicker conditions will suit her. And I just get the feeling with her, obviously we've got a lot of players, we've talked about motivation. We've got a lot of players who are just crying out for the end of the season. I think Noskova just wants to keep going. I think she's really playing well. She's up to 17 in the world. She's not that far away from the top 10. So I was going to have a point each way on her at $5. Another couple of players I was looking at, one was Viktorija Golubic, who just seems to come alive at this time of year. She won the recent challenger in Zushu, and that's her 6th title, if you include challengers, which that was, since September 2023, and all of them have come after the US Open. The problem for me is that she's in Noskova's section of the draw, and I definitely prefer Noskova. But in the top half, I'm going to have a bet on Kristina Buxa, who's played some of her best tennis in recent months. She beat Elise Mertens at the US Open, and they meet again in round 1 here. And these conditions, I was hoping, that she, it would be. I don't know why she's in this one and not in Ningbo, because I thought the conditions in Ningbo would be better for her, because they're a bit slower. But I think at $50, I think she's a bigger price than she should be. And it's not a confident selection by any stretch, but it's one of these tournaments where you think someone's got to win it. And you look at her section, you've got likes of Sakkari and Krueger, who I couldn't trust at the moment. Danilovic is on a losing run. If she was to beat Mertens in round 1, you got Alexandra Ialo in there, who could be capable of doing something. The Filipina player. And Osaka, I can't really trust, and certainly not at that price. I thought Buxa was a player who might give us a run for our money. So I'm going to have a half a point each way on her. Let's have a look at some matches quickly before we go. Now Hibino, who actually won this event back in 2019, she's up against Olga Danilovic. Hibino plus 225, Danilovic minus $3. Their first meeting. Hibino actually won the ITF 100K event in Incheon, Korea at the end of last month. Danilovic has lost her last 3. She's just got 1 win since Wimbledon. What did you make of this one, Nigel?
I actually thought there might be a shock here. I thought Danilovic is worth taking on. Danilovic wants it slow, very slow. I think he might be a little bit too quick for her. I like Hibino here. I think she's in form. She's, she knows the conditions. She knows the knows what she's got to do here. I think she's going to have a bit of support from the fans. I mean, plus 225 is quite a big price. I was more tempted by the 4.5, and that was my first official play. I'm going to get back now Hibino at plus 4.5 on the spread and minus 115 with Bet Rivers to beat an out of sorts Danilovic in the conditions, which I think might be a little bit too quick for her. The slower the better for Danilovic, and I think Hibino at plus 4.5 against an out of sorts opponent. Won her last tournament. Looking good, hasn't had to travel too far, being based around here, and I think that plus 4.5 is a decent spread. So Hibino plus 4.5 is my first official play.
I thought the odds were surprising for the next one as well. Suzan Lamens even money against Emiliana Arango minus 125. The spread 1.5 games totals 21.5. Arango leads the head-to-head 2-1. Lamens has lost her last 2, including to Kimberly Burrell in Wuhan, and those two met in the final here last year. Arango has lost her last 2 as well, going down to Samsonova in Wuhan. But, in quick conditions, I'd be really against Arango.
Yep. Just to let you know, that Hibino Danilovic match is just before midnight this evening. Eastern time. So if you want to bet that Hibino match, you've got most of the day today to get on, but it's midnight tomorrow, early hours of tomorrow morning. This one here is at 2:30 Eastern time, Lamens Arango. Now, the two of them met, didn't they? They met in Beijing. I'm sure I put Lamens up as a big price in Beijing, didn't I? I think I put her up.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, 150 to 1. And she played in the round 1 and got beat by Arango. Now, going into that match in Beijing, which is not really much different to what they're playing in here, Lamens started that match as minus $2. She was minus $2 favourite. I know she got beat, but in the space of 2 weeks, has she gone from minus $2 to even money? No. The other thing you got to remember about Lamens is she's got points to defend. So this is a huge tournament for her. She's dropped down the rankings here. She's a defending champion. She's got points to defend. In the second round, she'll play Osaka, which is a massive match for her. Osaka in Osaka. So I think the motivation for Lamens is absolutely huge in this match. She want to come back and beat Arango. She has beaten her before. It was a bad day at the office. She's gone from minus $2 to even money in conditions which are going to suit her much better against Arango, who wants it as slow as she possibly can. So Lamens here at even money is my second official pick and probably one of my best bets. Well, it is probably my best bet across both of the tournaments. I think even money Lamens is the wrong price.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. Viktorija Golubic mentioned her earlier, plus 120 against Bianca Andreescu. Won a piece in the head-to-head. As mentioned, Golubic won the challenger in Suzhou recently. Andreescu went down to Anastasia Zakharova in Wuhan in another injury comeback. This for me was, I went through my reasons for not backing Golubic in the outright, but I fancy her here at plus 120. Probably conditions might be a bit quicker than ideal, but Andreescu I don't think is really in any sort of form. And
the only worry with that, I tell you, just worry with that. I mean, I actually watch Viktorija Golubic live for the very first time. I've seen it on telly, obviously, but I actually watch. She's so slight.
Yeah,
she's diminutive in her manner. She's probably one of the tennis racket looks like the size of her whole body. She's tiny. She's very small, and she's not a big hitter whatsoever. And Andreescu is a bit of a power hitter from the back of the court. And it's all about her fitness here, Andreescu. But if she's fit, I think she could hit through Golubic. But that's why you're getting plus 120. It's the fitness level. But I did look at that as a potential shot. But I think that she's so slight in a build that she could get overhit here.
Yeah, I don't think Andreescu will be able to do that. I don't think she can do that at a stage in her career. We'll never know. I suppose the first match would be the time to catch her if you're worried about her fitness. But I think Golubic at plus money is worth a bet. So I'll have a point on Golubic there. Now, you are a glutton for punishment, Nigel Seeley. Maria Sakkari against Ashlyn Krueger. I mean, what are you playing at?
Well, I just put this in for comedic value. I mean, I'm not betting this one at all. I mean, the last time they played was literally in Beijing this year, and it was the most crazy. 7-6, 6-7, 7-5. Sakkari won. There was breaks galore. There was set point, match point. There was all kinds of things going on. This is basically if you want sort of to go put your heart through, some pressure in an hour and 15 minutes. This is the match for you. It's -111 to each of them. So basically, Bet Rivers are saying we have no idea what's going on. The last match had no idea what was going on, and we just want you to take the decision for us. It was in there because it was just a wild match. Just to let you know, when they did play, they both started off about -113 each. Originally when the market come through in their last match, but the market went for Sakkari, and it was right to go for Sakkari. She edged it. It was as close as you possibly can. This is the closest match on the card. But I just looked at the totals there and thought, it'll be rock and roll roller coaster stuff. But 22.5 over at even money compared to the unders. I think you've got to be unders. But I'm not going to have a bet on this because I've got better things to do tomorrow. I'm getting an aeroplane tomorrow out of the UK to go to Latvia, so I'm doing that tomorrow rather than putting myself through Sakkari Krueger.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to put yourself through the ringer, and if you like betting in play, you'll probably get opportunities galore in that one. One final match to look at: Elise Mertens against Christina Buxa. Mertens -175, Buxa +138. Buxa leads the head-to-head 2-1, including at the US Open, as mentioned earlier. Mertens has won just once since that US Open. She withdrew before her meeting with Belinda Bencic at Wuhan. Buxa has lost her last two, however. I'm already backing Buxa for the tournament. Nigel, what's your view on this one?
Well, I quite like Christina Buxa here. I thought +138 was a big price. Mertens coming towards the end of what's been a sort of a long career. I think, her glory days are gone. She's been around for a long, long time, but she's still only 29 years of age. But she seems to be around forever. If you look at her levels have massively dropped towards the end of the season since the US Open, where she got beat by Buxa in a long match. But let me tell you the difference. The difference in that match, when she played Buxa at Flushing Meadow, Mertens was -$6 to win that match. Wow. And Buxa was +550. So there's a big change to it for the price. It's been factored in that Mertens hasn't done anything in the last few weeks. But I think that's too big a factor to me to get involved with Buxa. But it wouldn't surprise me at all to see Buxa. We've got her on the outright market, so there's no point in going in again at +138. But Mertens could be worth taking on, but that is a huge rebase on what they played in a few months ago in New York.
Okay, that's all for the matches and the outrights dealt with. Quick! There's a lot to get through, but let's say Ningbo outright. Did you have an outright pick for Ningbo? You did in the end, didn't you?
I went with Mboko. A half a point each way on Mboko at 40-1. I think she'll get off to a winning start, and hopefully she can build on the momentum like she did when she won the tournament in Canada. I hope she's over a wrist injury, but I think at the price is 40s about a player that, if you said to me 2 months ago, I think she'd come into this tournament as a single figure price, 40-1 is too big.
Yeah, and I went for Yulia Putintseva, a quarter of a point each way at $150. Matches, you liked Sofia Kenin on the money line against Mccartney Kessler at +114. I liked Lin Zhu on the spread. Go on, sorry, Nigel.
I just think that one there, I mean, I think there'll be a market move for there because Kessler's out of form, and I think the slower conditions will suit Kenin, +114 with Bet Rivers.
Yeah, I went for Lin Zhu +5.5 games against Emu Raducanu at -108, and you liked Yuan, similar logic, against Xinyu Wang on the money line +105.
I think she'll start favourite.
Osaka outright. You didn't have a bet, did you? In the end,
I didn't have a bet. I quite like Bauskova. Only because she's got a good head-to-head record against her opponents if she gets through to the quarterfinals, and I think that's an important factor. But at +650, absolutely no value whatsoever. If she does get through to the second round, I would bet her individually in matches. That's what my strategy would do. That will pay you a lot better than 650. I reckon probably get double that if you bet her in individual matches.
Yeah, I went for two bets actually. Linda Noskova, a point each way at $5, and Christina Buxa, half a point each way at $50. Moving on to the matches, Hibino +4.5 games at -115 against Olga Danilovic. That was your play?
Yep.
Was it not? Yes.
Yes, it was.
Suzan Lamens, money line against Emiliana Arango at even money. And that was for you as well. I went for Viktorija Golubic money line plus 120 against Bianca Andreescu, and that was it. I think that was it. Lots of action, 2 tournaments, outrights and matches, all looked at on Betting Weekly WTA. Nigel, you've got Sean shortly.
Literally now. So I've got to get off the line now and we got 3 tournaments to get through there. So it's a busy afternoon. The Betting Weekly Dojo as well. I recorded that earlier as well. And also I've got a pack to go to the England World Cup qualifier in Latvia, which I'm flying out tomorrow at 20 to 7 in the morning.
Lovely. Well, no rest for the wicked, Nigel. No rest for the wicked. Enjoy Riga. Thanks for joining us as usual. Again, let us know your thoughts on the tournament, your best match bets, put them under the line on YouTube and get in touch on social media. Thanks again. We'll see you again next week for more Betting Weekly WTA.